Hello, animators and artists. Jason Collins is a 2D rigging artist and layout artist with experience at studios like Sun and Moon, Boulder Media, Tomavision, and Treehouse Republic. Last month, Jason posted a demo for a rig based on M-Dawg, a character designed by Annabelle Olendzki. The rig is free to use in Toon Boom Harmony from Jason's Gumroad page, and he joins us on our live stream to take us on a tour of the rig's features, including master controller sliders, deformers, and selection handles. So Jason, welcome to the live stream.
Hello, how's it going? It's good to be here.
It's going great. So you've worked as a character rigging artist and layout artist for multiple studios. How would you describe your current career path to your role so far?
I describe it as very lucky. So I'm a recent graduate. It was a year ago. I graduated in 2023 from TU's Clonmel Digital Campus, and I was very lucky to get my start in the industry like 2 months after I graduated. But when I finished college, I just went straight into like making rigs. But I was I was making sure to go to like all the events, network with people. I was reaching out to a number of different rigging artists to get feedback, and I used everything I got to actually like put out a rig on my LinkedIn, which led to my first job, which I was very lucky because someone just so happened to see it, and then I got recommended for the job. That was at Treehouse Republic, and the next day I had the job. And then when I finished with them, it was the same thing again. I was like, okay, I'll just make another rig, put it out there, and then I got the freelance gig with Tomavision. But with Boulder, it was a bit different because I had initially, at this point, I was still kind of doing animation and rigging. Like I was like, I'll do whichever I can, whichever job I could get, because I still was very interested in doing animation. And I was very fortunate to get into Boulder. We're doing this like 2D animation boot camp, so you got to try animation in a studio setting for like 2 weeks. And in the second week, it just kind of hit me. I was like, I don't think I really enjoy animating as much as I thought. I think rigging is like, I'm definitely more of a rigging artist than an animator. And just so happened, the rigging department were looking for a 2D rigging artist, so I was got the job with them then, which is nice. So yeah, I was there for a year. Going to be going back in February, but for the time being, we got like a bit of a gap at the moment. So now I'm working at Sun and Moon as a layout artist, which was a bit of a change for me because initially I did apply as a rigging artist, and then I got the layout job, and I was there like I've no idea what layout is, but no, it's going grand. It is mainly just you have to be someone that can work in the node view, so, and obviously rigging helps that a lot because that's all you're mostly doing with rigging. So yeah, that's where I am now.
Yeah, 2023 was a heck of a year to graduate.
Oh yeah.
Was it stressful, like trying to find work right after graduation?
Oh yeah, it definitely it was there was like a lot of, obviously like everyone has like that pressure on you, and especially like when you're coming towards the end of your film, you're there just like, oh my god, I wonder what's next. So like I just and I was still in 2023, I was actually still learning rigging. I wasn't really I still hadn't as much experience with it, so that's why I was like making sure to like reach out to as many people as I could, get as much feedback as I could, you know, because obviously like there's no way I would learn it by just trying to do it myself, you know. Like there's so many like people that were willing to like actually give solid advice, like, and that really helped me out.
I mean, definitely, like the jump into a studio is a huge step from being in animation school. You mentioned that like you were interested in initially in doing like the animation side as opposed to rigging.
Hmm.
What clicked with you for rigging? What interested you in rigging characters for TV productions? And what sort of like made you fall in love with that work?
I think it's just like how I really like how technical it is, and I really enjoy how like there's so many ways to solve an issue. Like there's no like right or wrong way. Like it's basically like if you could figure out like someone else's, like another rigging artist's method will be different from someone else and someone else. So there's so many ways to solve something. Like that's all rigging is. It's just problem solving, and also the thing is just like I don't know, animation. I just don't take. I feel like it never really clicked to me. When I was in college, I was always trying to be like an animator and something else, and I was kind of trying to jump from thing to thing in the other department. But but just with rigging, it's great because you're still part of the process, and it's still a very important part of the process. 'Cause you have to make sure like it actually works for the animator, you know, which is nice. And
Yeah,
it's cool. It's cool. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there. It's cool seeing like people actually be able to make stuff with it. That's like the big like payoff. You're like, okay, it worked, thank God.
that's really cool. I mean, I was about to interrupt you to ask you a question of uh, I actually lost my question. Okay.
Sorry, my bad.
No, but I mean, one of the things that can happen in animation school, and this I think was more true of animation school maybe like 5, 10 years ago, is a lot of them would be very focused on animation and like the
Mm,
role of an animator. And the truth is that like that's only a fraction of the production pipeline, you know, like there's a lot of work that goes into production aside from the people who are moving things around.
exactly. We were our college was really nice about that because even in our final year we could do anything. Like you weren't limited to just doing like an animated short film. You could like there was people that did like projects that were like solely animatics, solely backgrounds, and then like the project I worked on, like I mean it was animation, but it had like a lot of rigging involved. So that was nice being able to actually showcase that skill.
I know that you're currently working as a layout artist right now, but from your work as a rigging artist, but what did an average day in that role look like?
So a lot of it is just like getting your well, like what most places like do tend to have worked with like Google spreadsheets. So like you just see like your list of tasks for the day, and then just try your best to get everything done on the day. But obviously, if you have, but there's a lot of times where like our rig will just take like way too long or something, or like there'll be some issue, or it has to go back for like a redo or something like that, or the design department has to like fix something. So, you know, it's always important to just make sure you're talking to just making sure you're letting your leads know what's up, so that and also if you're ever like struggling with like a rig or something, just make sure like ask for help or whatever. A lot of it is just that it's just tipping away like on my work, and then like asking the leads if I need help, do my redos, all that stuff.
The character that I really wanted to ask you about for this live stream was M-Dawg, which was based on a character designed by Annabelle Olendzki. How did you learn about this character and what led you to design a rig for it?
So I was following Annabelle online. She's just an artist who posts like she has like a webcomic as well called Doghouse, HAUS. But yeah, I found her Instagram account, and obviously like Instagram's just so appealing because it has like the grid format, so it makes looking at like people's work like a lot easier. So I was just like looking at her work, and then I just saw that design just there, and I was like, that's perfect because it has like the full turnaround and everything. It's a very like simple design, which is obviously what you want for rigging. You don't want something that's like too complicated. And then I just asked her, and she was cool with it. Yeah, so now here it is.
It's amazing. Can you give us a tour of M-Dawg as if you were showing the animator how to pose different features of the rig?
Yeah, I have a little crew drawing there just for reference. Just I'll pose it into that in a sec. But yeah, it's yeah, the design is very simple, but there was like a couple things I uh, that were kind of a challenge. Like for instance, like the little cutters here on the shirt.
Yeah.
Those are all. You can select all those there, and they all got the deformers on them. But yeah, it's just a again, it's a very simple design, so it's obviously super appealing for rigging, but also like animation as well. Yeah, I made all these handles just for like easier selection, of course. So like, it's for the head, the ears. I pushed them down a bit on the timeline there. Yeah, so for like the different profiles here, that's what these other handles are for like elements you can't see like in the background, just to make it easier while you're animating. Some of the ear there. We got the, yes, those are just like the different kinds of poses, and then the tree poses at the end are just like flipped. Here we have, I'll go back to the first frame, throw the glasses back on. Oh yeah, so sorry, for the glasses, or for like some of the handles as well, there's like a different instance. So if I go into the drawing substitutions, there's if you swap to the other instance, they'll turn on the glasses and turn them off. I have the same thing done for parts of the arm here as well. So if I move this arm up the way, there's another drawing instance here. Sorry, I gotta push that a bit more. There we go. Yeah. So there's two different drawings there. One that's just for like, if you don't want that crease, and there's one for if you do want that crease. I put highlights on these parts here. I had one of my friends actually take a look at this before I submitted it, and he was saying how like this part here was a bit kind of unclear whether you could like interact with it or not. So I put that I put that overlay layer on top. So and I have it set so when it's put into render view, you don't see it. So that just makes that a bit more readable there. Of course, it's got a deformer. This bit here also has deformer, and then there's this little bit here that's just for covering that bit there if you want to cover up those lines, and that also has the deformer as well. Oh yeah, then there's a handle here for the tail, and the tail is also split into multiple points as well. Now this part here was kind of tricky because it's very subtle, but like the top of the pants here is like a lighter shade of brown from the one at the bottom. So it took a while, but I was able to make it so that when you're adjusting this line here, like it'll always, that color won't like disappear. It'll always be like the darker color underneath as opposed to the lighter one there. And even when you adjust it with like the controllers, it still always remain that top color there.
That's cool. How did you work that out?
It was just like a mask thing. I'll try to find it in the dojo. Yeah, it was like I had yeah, so it was just it was basically just like applying like a mask layer like on top of like the other point, and then or on like the other part of the drawing, and like because they obviously move together, they're just like synced up together. So like, because like obviously this middle line isn't going to be moving by itself, like it's going to be moving with the pants because you obviously want that to, that's the look. I have a similar thing here with the pants here, so that you can pull that down to adjust the waist there. The same with these little pockets. All these pockets are like masked in, but like they appear like under this top piece here. That also was kind of an issue as well that was brought up. So like I have like a little overlay layer on that as well, so that stands out more. Let's go back up there. I have oh yeah, same with this bit here as well. So this sorry. Yeah, and then this point can also be adjusted, and that is also masked like that as well. Oh yeah, I didn't draw too many because but yeah, there is a couple hand shapes there. An example. Oh yeah, and those are split by those are I have like a patch connected there, so those are being connected via the color art. So obviously, if I put that on the, I would then yeah, the fingers are like on the underlay layer. So if you want to put like a prop or something inside, the fingers are split up for that. Oh yeah, then these parts they're basically kind of done the same way as like the little spikes here, where like they're all kind of like cut into each other. And then this is just for like the entirety of the tears there. Oh yeah, and then those all have their own color on it as well. And then the legs are, again, like the arms, they all have like deformers. I also have a different instance for the legs, like so. Well, that's that pose there is for the back view. So like when you're seeing like the character from the back, and you're not, and then there's those characters' toes. But you can also manipulate these for like if you're doing a pose that's like for the back of the foot, if you want to, because these, like if you push these off, like they'll, they're masked into the foot. So if you want to get like some kind of pose like that to match like for like the back of the foot, that's doable. Yeah, that's the basic gist of it. It's very simple. Like obviously it's complicated, and like I think that is like the most complicated bit, just because I mean it is just like a masking thing. But just getting that to work took like a bit of troubleshooting. Oh yeah, I should say as well. Obviously there's the standard eyelids and all that, and then these little bits for the on the face. Those are all rigged as well, and the nose that has all the bits like masked in. And then I really like this character's eyebrow as well. Or this funky long eyebrow here. So that has a deformer on it. And then even these little bits here, they all have deformers. Actually, this bit here with the head, there's like a cutter up here, just so you can kind of adjust the shape of that character's head there. Because I wanted it such you could actually be able to customize it a bit instead of just like making it that one shape. Thank you. And then, yeah, it's just a handle just for the entire body there. And then, yeah, the master controllers are...
Before we get into the master controllers, actually, just
to
go through a couple comments.
Yeah.
I really like how this rig has some like subtle asymmetry to it. I mean, in the face, you can see it with the sort of connected eyebrow and the bridge of the nose, which I think is really cool. There is that like little sort of wrinkle in the shirt that is a little bit asymmetrical, as well as the shape of the pants. Those things all like add a lot of appeal to it, even though it does create a lot of headaches when it comes to rigging and animation. So I think those are some really cool elements that I think show. I think also the mouth shape too is a little bit asymmetrical.
Yeah,
is that correct?
It is, yeah. Even when I was doing this originally, I was like planning to just make it symmetrical, but then I was like, that's not the design. Like, I mean, the design is already pretty symmetrical, but like, if you want to actually look like the character, you got to do those, because those are the things that make it look nice.
Yeah, because when I see that, like, it gives the character design a lot of appeal, and I think it makes it look a little bit more impressive than if it was just like perfect mirror image.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to show us some of the master controller sliders that you have baked into the rig.
Yeah, so very standard. There's a head turn. Oh yeah, I chose the glasses back on because the glasses are baked in. Oh yeah, and I was showing the instance there a second ago, but there is also one for the neck there, so that you can get that back pose, or back of the head pose. Here is the mouth shapes. There isn't a whole lot, but I have there's a deformer on each of them. So if you want to get a more specific mouth shape, you can push it a bit. And these mouth shapes are also baked into the other views as well. And I have a mask there that, thank you, I have a mask there that cuts into the face, which is nice. So you get that inner mouth shape.
I also noticed too, this is a character with a bit of a muzzle, and like I know that long faces can be tricky to rig and animate in 2D sometimes. So I think it's also an element where like you can see that there's a lot of ambition.
I have so I have these controllers here that are like for the upper body, lower body, then like the body with the waist, but I have them as controllers here as well, just if you want to do like a nice side turn. So that's only like the upper body there. So that's just that amount. And then that's the body without the waist. And then, yeah, there's the version with the waist there. Again, the rig kind of breaks there, but that's just, you can repose it yourself. It's just that you have the option there. So, yeah.
Yeah, this is a very, very ambitious rig. How long did it take you to put this together?
It shouldn't have taken us long, but I started this when I think it was like I want to say like a year ago. But I was working in I think I just about started working in Boulder, and I started working on this, and then I just I just kind of lost a bit of I lost track of it just because I was already like working as a rigging artist. So when I was like doing rigging in my free time, I was kind of getting a bit put off by it. But yeah, it's realistically it should have been done a lot faster because it isn't the most complicated rig, but yeah, it just took a while for that reason. But obviously having the gap here now, that's when I actually finished it. Because I had nothing else to do, which was nice.
Yeah, so you started this rig about a year ago. Was there anything that you like learned while you were working at studios between the start and finish of this rig that like influenced the design and some of the elements?
Oh, it was I think a lot of it was just kind of like not the specific way the nodes were organized, but just making sure like the actual node view was just a lot more readable. Because like the rig I made in college, like I mean it worked, but the node view is like so hard to understand. I went back to it to try like salvage it for like my portfolio, but I was like, I think I might just make it again because it's so like all over the place. And obviously this is all over the place as well, but it's at least organized somewhat. Also, I got these plugins, which makes it a lot easier, which is nice. So if I'm making like editing like the node views, I can just clean it up a lot nicer with those scripts there.
Nice. Where do you get those scripts, by the way?
It was on Gumroad. I can't remember the exact. It is a fella who I think. I feel so bad for forgetting the name now because it's been a while since I got them, but I think it was
Remember.
It's a fella who worked on. I think the show's called It's Pony or It's Pony. It was like a Nickelodeon show that was rigged, and I think yeah they were made for that, but your man posted them on Gumroad. So it's the scripts for like Z depth and also like the node organization as well, like for the horizontal and vertical views. I feel sorry for forgetting it's been a while since I found them, so I can't remember the names, but
No,
I
that's perfectly fine. I was just curious because if you mentioned like a script or a plugin, I'm always curious about like what scripts or plugins are people using right now. Because I know Udea posted a bunch of really great scripts ages ago, but I don't know if he's working in the UK industry, so I don't think it was him. I've seen some cool ones. What do you like to do to test a rig or put it through its paces?
So it would just be like posing it, like just making sure it can actually get to like a desired pose without breaking. I will try I will do like a little I won't really go out of my way to animate like a crazy thing, but I could like animate something very simple with like a tween and put a bit of like motion behind it just to see if like it actually works.
Yeah. No, I think it looks cool. I also like, you can see this in the 3/4 back view, that there's like a little bit of a, it's not quite a crouch, it's not quite a slouch, but
It's
it's
like
like a
it's
little
like
bit
an
in the
arch.
pose of the body. Yeah, that gives it a lot of character. That like you could have just had him stand like perfectly straight, but I think this shows that he's a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more casual.
That was actually like one of the main reasons I was drawn to the design, because like I love the like even the side view there. Like there's just that nice like arch there in the like it's such a it's like the silhouette is really great. It says a lot about the character without actually you knowing.
We got a few questions in the chat that I just wanted to go through.
Yep.
I'll
try and match this to the reference there in the meantime.
Yeah. Are there any types of rigs that you haven't had the chance to create before that you'd really like to do? Is there any sort of character that's kind of on your list of what you want to rig?
I'm actually making one at the moment that's it's Kim Pine from Scott Pilgrim, because the Scott Pilgrim anime came out recently, and or it came out like a while back, and they posted like the official model sheets, like the turnarounds, and I was like, that's like as a rigging artist, like that's all you need. You just need to have like the full official turnaround that you can just get to work. So I've been tipping away at it there, but yeah. But other than that, there is a character I would like to make as a rig. I did actually try making it, and I had a bit of progress, but I ended up losing. I lost the progress because of some computer issue. It's Bayonetta. It's a character I really like from the game series of the same name, but there's like a spin-off series called Bayonetta and the Lost Demon, where it's more this kind of picture book, cutesy kind of art style, and it's based on like a lot of Irish mythology and folklore. So I had the design actually like ready, like I had it all set up and everything, and I was rigging it, and I lost a bit of I basically had like the face rigged, and then I lost it, and then I kind of just got put off for a while. So I'd like to go back and actually finish that, because that's a character that's on my list.
Yeah, I think Bayonetta is the character that like makes stuff out of her own hair, right?
And the thing is that she is quite detailed. Like even the simplistic cutesy one is like from the new game, like it's a more like simplified art style, but even that design is still detailed. But I feel like it's possible, there's definitely a way to do it. One of the big things with that design though is that if you like that show Chowder, there's like a texture on like the character's clothes, so like when the characters move, the texture kind of stays in place. The game kind of has that effect with like the characters, like their outfit and like their hair. So I think that would be like the biggest challenge with that rig, trying to make that effect actually work.
It's like when you're animating a character with a plaid shirt, the fun way, where the plaid pattern stays in place, so you don't have to adjust it as you're moving it around.
Exactly. But yeah, that would be the like I should actually go back to that definitely when I finish the Kim Pine rig first, because I'd be hoping to do the same, like put that on Gumroad as well.
You also mentioned the Scott Pilgrim animated series. I was not expecting it to be like it was. It was very surprising in like some really fun ways. So if anyone's watching this and you haven't seen the Netflix Scott Pilgrim TV series, I recommend maybe checking it out if
especially if you're a fan.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
or if like you're a fan of the comics and maybe like you weren't the biggest fan of the movie. I don't know. I think they do some things that are very surprising and very interesting. I'm still thinking about now that you mentioned it.
I actually before the model sheets were released, I was like set on making like a Ramona Flowers rig, but I was designing it myself. Like I did I was drawing like my own model sheet, and like I'm not a character designer, so like obviously that takes me like way longer. And I'm pretty sure like when I had it almost done, that's when they started dropping all like the official ref. I was like, okay, I was like, I'm gonna stop this and just use the official sheets, because that just makes it way easier.
Yeah, I think that's super interesting. We got another comment. I think this was on Twitch from username Dog with Cool Shoes. Do you have a preference for humanoid or creature rigs, assuming you've experience with both? So do you have experience making like less humanoid rigs, more monstrous stuff? Or is your experience more with like things that are roughly humanoid sort of shape?
It would be the roughly humanoid shape. I did have like this is like this is a bit of a story, but like in college, we had like an animation module, and this is when I was like this was in fourth year of college, so our final year, and I was and this is while I was like learning the rigging stuff, and for this assignment, I was like, yo, it was a creature animation module, so I was like, I'm gonna rig the creature for the module and then animate it, but like at this point, I had no idea what I was doing, so I made the worst, like it was like a giraffe, but it had just like line deformers on it, but it wasn't done properly, and it was an animation module, so it wasn't being graded for the actual rigging, so it just looked abysmal. But I learned a lot from it, so I don't regret it at all. It was a great experience, but but that's the only bit of, I guess, creature rigging I have. But no, it would like all the rigs would be humanoid, but in Boulder, I primarily worked on props. So, that was always like that could be like anything. It could be just like cups and stuff the characters are holding to like a giant ship. Like it was always something different, which was nice.
Yeah. Usually rigging artists starting off will start with like props before they get into character rigs,
Mm.
which is I think a good on ramp. Um, do you have advice for artists who are interested in getting into character rigging? Like if you were sort of in animation and animating the characters didn't really scratch that itch, but like you wanted to get a little bit more involved in the design process and the rigging process, what would your advice be?
I think the biggest thing is like rigging characters that exist already, primarily for shows like that do rigged characters, like because uh I think that's because obviously these characters are already made to be rigged from the beginning. They're designed with rigging in mind. So I think that's like a really good practice, like getting, just like actually rigging pre-existing characters yourself. And like the materials there, you can find so many like full turnarounds of characters online. Um, I actually don't have it, but it was another thing I lost during uh I lost a couple of things on my computer, but the first rig I did was like it was a rig of like Star from Star versus the Forces of Evil, because like the
Oh,
full model
nice.
sheet was there, so that was a great character to start off with, because you had all the reference there and everything, and then I made I made a rig of Jessica from Rick and Morty, and again like material is there, like it's the poses are there. With that rig, I also did like uh I had like a face tracker GUI thing, so I had like that switch that you could like point in any direction that would like control the direction of the face, and that was really cool to demonstrate. Um, yeah, so it would just be like like get as much practice by rigging pre-existing characters, but also I think reaching out to people is a big one as well. Like not annoying them, but like just like there's a lot of people that are willing to like talk to you and give you like advice, especially like in rigging. I think like rigging is like, I mean, it's such a niche, but I think everyone kind of knows everyone, and like you'll find a lot of the same people and a lot of, I mean, I'm saying this from my experience, but like even now, like at Sun and Moon, like there's people I've worked with at Boulder that are working there as well, which is just so surreal, like to see them again.
No, that is a very true thing about the animation industry is that it is very tight knit. If you work with someone on one production, you're very likely to work with them on another production in the future. So try to be friendly. Don't try to burn bridges,
Yeah.
because you never know who's going to be on your next production. But I also think it's very true that it would be so easy for artists to say like, "Hey, um, the way that like I rig or the way I animate, that's like what differentiates me. That is like my skill, and I'm not going to tell you how I do it because like you're through competition." But it's
Mm,
very much not like that. It's very much like collaborative. A lot of people want to see other people succeed, and I
yeah,
think it makes like everybody better for it too. Because everybody can kind of learn something from somewhere else.
yeah. It's very yeah, everyone who's into rigging, like they're really into it, but they're always like eager to show people like how it actually works, because everyone's kind of we're all in together. There's a real sense of community with like rigging.
Yeah. Are there any artists who you like look to as like mentors or as like people who've created stuff that was like helpful for you in your journey?
It would be like funny enough, like again, but talking about the people who work at Boulder, like everyone there is like so talented, and like they're all like really big established riggers. Like again, Jordan Beatty, like even working with him was very surreal because I was using his rigs to like reference and like and also when I was practicing animation, I was using his like Scott Pilgrim rig like to animate. And I think the first rig I actually used was from Q Bum Lead, the olive rig, which is like that's such a great rig to like start with. And there's also Aitza Mazzoni. She was I worked with her at Treehouse, but she is like she is like constantly pumping out rigs like for people to use. She has like I think she's got like it's like Sonic, Tails, Shadow, and Knuckles, and she's making like the entire Sonic cast as rigs, like, and they're just there to like use. They're so good. But yeah, her work output is really good. But yeah, there's so many different people in rigging that like I could gush about for ages. But yeah, no, it's very inspiring because it's cool to be part of this community with like people that they just want to make rigs and actually make things that people can use.
What do you find most interesting or challenging about like rigging M-Dawg's design?
Honestly, it probably was that thing I mentioned there with the pants. Like that was just because I was kind of like I was half debated like should I just leave it because like will people even notice that like the colors are different? But I was like no, it was colored that way for a reason, so I have to actually like put in the effort to figure it out. But other than that, it was like it's pretty. It was pretty simple because it was kind of just applying everything I learned from like previous rigs. There wasn't really anything like, yeah, that was probably the toughest. I guess the mount was a bit tricky, but that's always a bit tricky to get right to make like that inside part of the mount work.
Yeah, I mean to touch on it too, like anytime that you have a character design with like stripes or a pattern, that always becomes tricky. And like one of the things is like if you have a character design that has that, sometimes you might even want to ask like, hey, what if we didn't have it? What if it was just a line?
I that was a big mistake when I rigged the Star versus rig because I think she has like stripy tights and like at that point like it was the first rig I made, so like I didn't really account for that, so I was just like I like as I moved her legs I was just like oh no, I was like I could see like the overlap. So yeah, I definitely tend to. Actually, Jamie Green told me that when he was reviewing that rig, he was like, "Yeah, you'd want to avoid stripy patterns when you're rigging in future because it's obviously very difficult."
Yeah, I also think too, like it's interesting to see people come up with ways around those limitations. We got a question in the chat, and I think it's an interesting one. What do you think separates like a good rig from a mediocre rig? Like what makes a rig, in your view, good?
I think it's if you have to like redraw everything, I think that's a big issue. Like I guess it is depending on like the project, but I know when I was working on my college film, like the rig I had wasn't amazing, but the first draft of the rig, I remember like someone in our class was animating it, and like I was in the room with her like while she was working on it, and I kind of just looked over and I was like, damn, she's like just redrawing everything. She couldn't really like make anything with the rig, so like when the shot came back, it kind of just looked like it was hand drawn more. I mean, obviously you wanted to look kind of hand drawn like with rig, but it looked more like that it wasn't animated with the rig. She did like a lot of hand drawn animation herself, and then that's when I did like the next revision where like I put like I put a bunch of like I did use 2-point constraints and everything because the character in that film like has like soft head, so the 2-point constraint was like ideal for that. And then when she got when I gave her the rig, then she made like a really good shot with the rig. But then she was like, "Oh, I could do this. I could do this. I could morph the head. I could." She was actually saying things she could do. It wasn't just, "Oh, I had to redraw this." So I think that's the ideal thing. Like obviously, like there will have to be like drawings added regardless, like for like hand shapes or whatever. But I think like if the person is just redrawing everything, I think that's kind of an issue because like the point of rigging is obviously like it should be pretty much like ready for animation. There shouldn't have to be that much like redrawing.
Yeah. What do you think of sort of the practice of sort of having like a hybrid, traditional rigged sort of approach where you'll have like the body rigged and then maybe like the arms or the head hand drawn?
I think it's really interesting because like I mean I've no experience. I haven't worked on anything that does that, but I've definitely seen like projects that do it, and I'm just like I'm really fascinated how they can make it work because I feel like that would really confuse me because you're like you're only rigging so much and then you're leaving the rest of hand drawn, you know. But like,
Yeah.
but places are able to like make really good work of it and actually like make it look seamless, which that's the most mind blowing thing. Like it'll be like you don't even realize the body could be rigged, but then like the hair or like the shirt or something is like hand drawn.
I've seen a few places, a few people do that, and I think it's kind of an interesting way of like splitting the difference. Um,
Mm,
I mean, I don't feel that rigging is a lesser form of animation than hand drawn. I think it's its own craft,
yeah.
and it deserves like the respect and attention that any other production would have. We've got
Definitely, it
another
is.
interesting.
Oh, sorry.
No. Go right ahead. I'm curious what you have to say.
Oh no, it is definitely like it is one of those things where like, well, that again, it is like a thing not many people would be familiar with as well. Like rigging, it's like even when I was telling people like oh I finished animation at college, now I'm doing rigging. It's like yeah, but didn't you want to do animation? But it's like I'm still in animation. It's just not animating. I'm still part of the process, you know. But
Yeah.
no, I really enjoyed the rigging process.
I mean, I think what's really cool about rigging is that it is a lot of upfront like work and figuring things out
Mm,
to make like the rest of the production a lot easier.
exactly.
And I think like that involves anticipating a lot of needs and figuring out like what are people going to need in like a
Exactly.
month or 2 months that I don't know about right now.
It's nice
Um,
to try it's really great in that regard because it's like yeah it's like you're making you're trying to just make the animators lives easier, like you know.
um, we got a question in the chat, which is are there any design decisions that you'd see in like character designs that you're adapting for rigs that when you're just starting out you maybe might want to have avoided that now you're sort of looking at as like an interesting challenge? Like, do you feel that you've sort of leveled up as a rigging artist to the point where like you can start approaching things that might be a little bit more tricky or challenging?
Oh definitely, because like the thing with the patterns is like it is definitely annoying, but there is a way to do it. You just got to figure it out.
Yeah. Are there any new features in Harmony 24 or some of the more recent releases that you've had a chance to look at that maybe like unlocks new possibilities in rigging?
um I think I've just been kind of using the standard stuff with like the master controllers and whatnot. I haven't really like delved too much into like the newer stuff, but I would definitely I'll definitely be interested if you can make any part of the process easier.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting because when I joined 6 years ago, master controllers were like brand new. Like you could get them, but like you would have to do some scripting in order to have them work.
Right.
And like with the grid wizard and the slider wizard, it's a little bit easier to do that without code.
Mm.
Um, but it's interesting to hear that that's like now like standard.
Yeah. Yeah, even hearing that how like like it was only new when he's like that's crazy. It's yeah, because it's definitely like it feels like a feature that was always there. I can't imagine like Toon Boom without it, like because it definitely like really helps out the animation process.
Yeah. Well, I think what's interesting is like there are always new features added, but the ones that are like really relied on, like your cutters, your envelope deformers,
Mm.
um, you know, like those are things that you're going to rely on in rigs no matter what, and they're just good foundational skills to have.
Yeah, exactly.
Are there any character rigs that you've seen that you sort of look at and wonder, like, how did they do this?
There was I can't remember their name, but I saw it on LinkedIn. There was a person who made a I'm not too familiar with Dragon Ball, but I think it's Kid Goku or whatever. That's the character. With like the tail or whatever. There was I can't remember their name. I feel I'm so bad with names, but they made a rig of Kid Goku, and it literally just looked like it was hand drawn because they also animated it as well. And I was literally just blown away. I was like, how I think I was like in the process of making this while I saw that, and I was like, I can't even like process how they made that. Like, because like it just looks like it was so fully like fluidly hand drawn like when they animated it, and all the detail there in the rig itself. Um, I should is there a way I could like if I find that I could like follow up or like post that because I feel bad forgetting the
Sure.
name now. Yeah, I'll
No,
make
I
sure
mean,
the
we can always follow up. We can always talk about errata. Or if we publish this as an article, I can include that as like a postscript.
oh yeah because yeah I'm so bad with names, but I just remember seeing that rig being like that is absolutely mind blowing. Like it just looks like from what little I've seen of the show, like it was so well done.
Yeah. I think one of the cool things about following artists on LinkedIn is that LinkedIn becomes a very cool social network,
Mm.
which sometimes weirds people out who are like not working in animation and don't follow a lot of artists. Because I follow so many people who work on Harmony Productions, I see so many crazy rigs, and I love it.
Is there any rig you'd see where you're like, I didn't even think that was possible?
Well, I mean, I was asking you questions about like hybrid, hand-drawn and rigged productions, and I was talking with an artist a month ago. It was Ferguson Winston who was talking about um, he had made a project where he was rigging Luther in the style of like Lupin the Third. He called it
Mm.
Luther the Third, and like he had it was that the body was rigged, but the hands were hand drawn.
Oh my
And
god.
I just thought that was like such a neat approach, and it worked very successfully. Um, I thought it was a very, very cool project.
Nice.
But I mean, I see tons of projects, and I love being able to ask people, hey, how did you do that? What was your
How'd you do
approach there?
that?
Yeah, because I mean, that's kind of the fun of this.
Mm.
So do you want to talk a little bit about the pose that you're currently posing M-Dawg into?
Yeah, I'm just trying to do kind of some kind of shrug. I did this sketch yesterday because I was like, oh, that'd be a good pose to try match there. Yeah,
Yeah.
just yeah, it's because uh when I got my friend to test this rig, I remember I think the first thing he did was like he basically made it look like a Wallace and Gromit character. Like he just stretched out the face, and I was like, I didn't even like think of that as like a thing you could do because obviously I still made it like that was like I've rigged it about fully, but I was like I didn't even think of like for a second of pushing them out that far, and it looked really funny. So I was like, yeah, try to do something akin to that maybe.
Yeah, I think that's super cool. I mean, talking about like Wallace and Gromit too, and mouth shapes, like that's super distinctive.
Mm. Yeah, because even like just the mouth shape alone, I was just like, I know what that is just from the shape of the mouth. Like that's all it took.
Oh, that's very cool.
I'm excited for the new movie as well.
Yeah, I mean, I I was surprised they're making a direct sequel to The Wrong
Mm.
Trousers.
Try to push this a bit more.
So, what are your sort of like influences when it comes to like animation, um, and like your sort of approach to characters?
um, I mean, I I find like really simplistic, cartoony characters like appealing. That's the kinds of things I'd be into, especially like from different kinds of artists. I uh, I still draw, but I don't really draw as much as I'd like at the moment. But what I do will often be like very kind of, I opt for like more kind of sketchy. Actually, speaking of the Scott Pilgrim anime, like with the Kim Pine rig I'm doing, I actually have like I have like a textured brush in it, so it has that kind of sketchy line art, which I really love.
Nice. We've got one controversial question in the chat, and that is, do you listen to anything while you rig? I know the Milt Call advice was like don't, but I think that only applies to Milt Call.
No, I definitely do. Well, like I listen to music or like listen to podcasts or just have videos on the background. Like I'll definitely have something there, like because yeah, I don't really like working in silence.
What do you recommend for anyone who's looking for something to listen to?
To be honest, like I kind of, it's weird, but I'll kind of listen to like things I've already seen before, if that makes sense. Like it could be like it could be like a game I've played. Yeah, like I've seen. I was watching because I got into the game series No More Heroes like a good while back, and I remember just like,
oh, wow.
I was rewatching because Jerma was like playing, he played through all the games, so I just had that on the background like while I was working. I was just like, oh, I forgot he even like because he was a big fan like when those games came out. Like I was very late getting into it, but
yeah, that's a deep cut. Was there a re-release of those recently?
There was they're on like other consoles now, so I got them on Steam.
Okay.
And
that came out on like GameCube or Wii or something, right?
It was on the Wii, yeah, the original No More Heroes, and then it yeah, kind of
as sort of like a sequel to Killer 7.
It's like it's the same fella. It's more like there's like a spin-off game that's kind of like a sequel to that. Although I'm actually playing that one currently, Travis Strikes Again. So I'm still kind of fresh with that.
Right on. No, I mean I like when GameCube ephemera comes up in conversation. That's always fun.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're running towards the end of our time, but I really wanted to ask you before we run out, where can our audience go to find more of your work and find the M-Dawg rig?
So the M-Dawg rig is on Gumroad and free to download. As for me, I usually just I mostly use LinkedIn, but I mean I am on Instagram as well. On my handle Jesseberg. So yeah, basically just LinkedIn and Instagram. I do have me and my friend who we made our college film together, and we have a YouTube channel for that as well called Loose Deuce Studios. And like we haven't touched it in a while, but we have put our film up there, so someday we'll get back to that and start doing more frequent uploads.
That's pretty cool. What's the name of your film and what's it about?
So it's called Johnny Softspot. It's about a boy who's been slapped on his soft spot as a baby, and basically he's been slapped so much that he's got like a dent in his head. That's what I was talking about earlier with the 2-point constraint. Like that character's head had to be really squishy. But the series is about him kind of maturing because it cuts to present day where he's like a 21-year-old school student. And the key thing is that like he's not really like he gets mistreated by the world around him, but like getting slapped in the head doesn't hurt him. He just kind of goes with it. And the whole series is about him trying to kind of mature and not be like the world's punching bag because he's sick of it. He wants to actually be respected as a person. So yeah, that's in college we came up with it like in 2021, and me and my friend Jack Baroni, and we were just kind of, it actually came to be during lockdown, so we were just making that for fun. And then in college we were like, we could just like make this as a college film. We had like a 10-minute animatic, but like I think our limit in college was like 3 minutes, so or that was pushing it like 3 minutes. So we basically animated the first 3 minutes of our animatic. So what our college film is that it's a teaser for a pilot that we have yet to finish. And that's on YouTube, Johnny Softspot.
Well, I always like hearing about independent animated productions. We actually got a question about Johnny Softspot in the chat, and I was like, what is this? So that's interesting. I learned about something new. Okay. So I think we're at the end. So I just want to thank you so much, Jason, for taking time to talk about the M-Dawg rig, as well as your work as a rigging artist. And I also want to thank our audience for taking time to join us for this conversation. If you enjoyed this discussion, you can download a 21-day trial of Harmony Premium 24 from our website. The website is toonboom.com, and try out all of the new character rigging features in the latest release. This was our last live stream before the holidays, but we will see you in the new year with more show and tell sessions, panel discussions, and art streams. So thank you so much for joining us, and be sure to tune in next time.